Hey everybody, welcome to this video. This is Shane Smolien from Wolf Trader Futures, and this is going to be a metals market update for September the 9th, 2025. So we're going to start here with the closing bell, and you can see here we have our Tricore Matrix, and across the board we have strength. We have strength in the copper market, the silver, and the gold markets. And I think copper is probably getting ready to get strong again after it had that big decline. So we're going to look at the charts in a second, but I just want to kind of clarify what this is here. The Tricore Matrix is a combination of the BAT model, which is a breakaway trading system. This is a purely tape-driven system that will track breakouts. This is the Fed Juice 3.0. This tracks the activities of the Federal Reserve. And then this is the Quad Lunar Cycle here, which is looking at cyclical activities of the moon. And the whole concept of the Tricore Matrix is that we're taking three different types of trading systems, and we're going to look to see when we can get a majority of them. So for example, if you have one system here, which is the BAT, I want you to think about like a Venn diagram here. And then you have your Fed juice here, which is another way of looking at this from the perspective of the Federal Reserve. And then you have another system, which is the Quad Lunar Cycle, which is looking at cycles, cyclical patterns. You can see into here. When we get this overlap into here, we get a much higher confidence level that we're going to have a successful signal because these three systems are independent. They're mutually exclusive. They have nothing to do with each other because they're each looking at different aspects of the market. And that's really important because a lot of times when you have different systems, you can have different indicators on a chart. They're kind of all saying the same thing. If they're momentum indicators, if it's rate of change, if it's stochastic, if it's RSI, whatever it is, they're kind of all saying the same thing. What we try to do here is give you guys a perspective that gives you three different ways to look at the market. And then we're able to see when we get a majority here, in this case, a two or a three, we can be pretty confident that we're getting a move from all three different angles. So that's really, really important to consider when we're looking at a market here. So let's take a look over to here. Today is Tuesday, so let me just show you statistically what we're looking at here on Tuesday. Tuesday is generally a pretty strong day. This is going to be gold and silver here. So this is gold and silver. So silver on the top, gold there. So you can see pretty strong day, 51 to 54%. So generally positive day here for these markets. One of the stronger days of the week, I would say. Yesterday is also strong. They're coming in, these numbers are coming in right at slightly above 50. So they're not overwhelmingly strong, but on a relative basis, this is one of the stronger days of the week. So we should expect to see action that's positive. You can see here copper. Now, copper is an interesting chart here. We had all of this tariff-related activity. We had that big dip. So we had the big spike in copper, and then we had the big dip in copper, and this was all tariff-related news that there's tariffs on steel, there's tariffs off steel, the tariffs are up, the tariffs are down, the tariffs are on, the tariffs are off. It's causing all of these huge fluctuations in these markets. But the one thing I want to point out here is that we are into a buy too. So the Fed juice is in a buy here, and the Quad Lunar Cycle is in a buy here. So if we zoom out, you can see down here, this is the Fed juice still climbing steadily here across time. And then the Quad Lunar Cycle is in that buy. So we are kind of drifting higher here on the Fed juice. One thing to note here is if you look at the bat signal here, it looks like it's about to reach a breakout here. So the bat model here you can see is coming in lower here. You can see it, and price is getting closer. Once that breaks through the bat, I think copper is going to have a really good chance here to break out to the upside. And so that's really close. So that's been, that bat has been into that sell signal for quite a while. Ever since we broke that pattern there with that big drop in copper, we're going all the way back to July. This is finally looking like this might break out here. It's not quite there yet, but you can see it's coming down to meet this price down into here. So copper still looking good, ready to look even stronger here. Next, we're going to look at silver here, and silver's in a buy three. Okay, so silver is looking very, very strong here, as is gold. We'll get to gold in a minute, but you can see silver here is into this buy three pattern. So you can see here it's clearing the bat signal. You can see it's in this uptrend here. You have the Fed juice in a buy, and you have the Quad Lunar Cycle in a buy here. So both of these are pushing to the upside. So all three of these gives you a buy three. This is the strongest rating that we can see for a buy signal. So again, this looks very strong. And I do think these metal markets, until the tariff situation gets resolved, particularly gold, is likely to remain strong simply because We have the tariff situation. We don't know if they're going to be reversed or not. So there's a risk on trade right now into gold, or risk off trade into gold. They're seeking safe haven. And then also, as the Fed gets more aggressive with their rate cuts and stimulative actions, at that point, we could expect to see maybe a pullback in gold. But right now, people are still pretty fearful about what's going on with those tariffs, and not sure if it's even going to happen. We got to wait to see what the Supreme Court says. Okay, so we have the wolf spread trader here. So what this is a spread trade that actually will track the relationship between oil and gold. So you can, if you go back through time here, you can see they're in an inverse relationship here. So when oil falls up here, gold generally rises. So they're pretty much inverse. So this is something that we use just to kind of track this relationship. I want to track the relationship between oil and gold, and I want to track it between gold and Bitcoin. So the next graph will be Bitcoin, but this one you can still see that gold is still into this breakout pattern right now, and I think this is likely to continue as long as we have this uncertainty with the Supreme Court and we don't know if the tariffs are going to hold up or not. And then, of course, going into the Fed meeting, we still don't know. So that's anticipation too. So likely to remain strong here into those periods because people are pretty afraid of what's going on. So gold strong relative to oil. So that's always interesting to look at because those are kind of like two markets that before Bitcoin came, those were kind of inverse markets. People would go back and forth between those markets. Now we have Bitcoin, and what we're going to see here again, we have another inverse relationship here. If you go back and look, gold is down here in the yellow and Bitcoin is here into this lighter blue. You can see going all the way back here that when gold generally goes up, Bitcoin generally goes down. And this is one of the things I think that has kept gold from going even higher just because it has this competition out there with Bitcoin. But right now you can see that gold continues to maintain this advantage on Bitcoin in the near term on the spread trade. So this is long gold, short Bitcoin. And right now it's going to be long gold, short oil. And so that is telling us that there's a very, very strong bias right now towards gold on both of these markets because these are, I would call these, both of these are the can be inverse markets to gold. The fact that gold is tilting so heavy right now tells us there's a lot of anxiety and concern, but still continues to be very strong here. And again, I think once if the Fed starts getting cutting towards zero and starts with these stimulative actions, then I would think you would start to see gold start to pull back. Gold typically does not do that well during quantitative easing compared to Bitcoin and equities. When we go back and look at that, it's not that gold can still go up, but generally it doesn't, the money wants to go to the risk on trades when the Fed starts to take action and intervene in these markets. So right now, though, we're not quite at that point, and so people are still preferring gold right now. Let's get to the actual gold chart here. Gold is in a buy three. So you can see here that gold is in this strong breakout right now. You can see down here, you can see the Fed use hits this very strong buy signal into here. And you can see it just blows right through. You see this RSI was into this overbought. It didn't care. It just kept going up. And this is one of the dangers of just trying to use RSI alone because it's not necessarily a good indicator on breakouts. So you can see here the better path here was definitely to follow what this Tricore Matrix was doing. So you could see right into this area into here. You can see right into here, it breaks through the bat here. The Fed just goes into the buy, and the Quad Lunar Cycle goes into this prolonged buy period into here. The Quad Lunar Cycle continues to be long here. And part of this was we rolled that, the Quad Lunar Cycle, we just loaded the next 4 months up. So we went from the last 4 months to the new 4 months. And sometimes when that happens, you get the splicing period, and it told us that it wants to stay long even longer. Out into this 9/16 date. So right now, this still continues to look strong. And I do think heading into the Fed meeting and heading and waiting for the Supreme Court decision, we are going to be seeing more uncertainty here with gold here. So gold's going to continue to be a favorite here, I think, until we get these issues resolved. So gold is going to be a safe haven spot when we have these uncertainties, like systemic uncertainty. A systemic uncertainty is going to be interest rates, it's going to be tariffs, things like that. Gold is going to uh, really shine in these situations. One more thing I want to show you here is that when we look at the stock ETFs here, we can look at gold miners. Gold miners is still into this signal here. You can see gold miners is also a buy three. Now, what's interesting about gold miners is gold miners got strong before gold. So this also continues to tell us that there's a very strong buy signal in here. The Quad Lunar Cycle will go into a sell on 910, but still, you still have, even if that goes into the sell on 910, you still have the bat in a buy, you still have the Fed use in a buy. So this continues to outperform here. And again, this even, like I said, this even went before the actual gold charts did. So everything looks in full gear right now on the metals. And again, I think likely to continue that strength until we get some of this uncertainty resolved. So that's all I got for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the next video. We'll update different markets. And so let me know if you guys have any questions or concerns. You can drop it in the comments below. And until the next time, I hope everyone has a great day. Stay safe out there, and I will talk to you soon. Peace out.